I made $1 million by the time I was 31, but by the time I was 33, I was broke. I lost a couple of million, about $2.5 million, because of some really silly choices I made. It's tough to hold on to your first big chunk of money, especially when you're young like I was. I fell for some temptations, like buying things just because they came in different colors. You know, I'd say, how many colors does it come in? I'll take them all. That kind of reckless spending. And I also made some bad business decisions. There was a company that wanted to borrow some money, about $250,000. The bank said they'd only lend it if I personally guaranteed it. I knew the company could pay it back, so I agreed. Everything seemed fine, they paid back the loan, and I thought I was a hero. But then I left, and everything fell apart. A little while later, I found out that the company ran into financial trouble again and borrowed that $250,000 once more. I thought to myself, I hope they don't ask me to sign again because this time, I won't do it. Even though I had signed the first time and they paid it back, I knew they wouldn't make it this time. And they never asked me to sign. But as I suspected, the company went out of business within a year. Then, I received a letter from the bank saying, "Dear Mr. Rohn, you guaranteed that if the company couldn't pay, you would pay the $250,000. Please send us your check." I was confused because I hadn't signed a second time. What I didn't realize was that my original signature was a continuing guarantee, which means it lasted even if I didn't sign again. Now I understand what continuing means, and I know it's a costly word. So, after a few experiences, including some where my wealth only existed on paper and then vanished, I went from being poor to being rich and then back to being poor. What do you do in a situation like that? I realized that even though I lost my money, I still had my skills, and those were more valuable than money. So, I went back to work using the same methods that helped me succeed before, and this time I made even more money than before. The key, I think, is to just keep working hard. I also had to change my lifestyle. I got rid of the fancy cars and homes and went back to living more modestly in a small apartment. Sometimes, you have to start over from scratch instead of trying to maintain a lifestyle you can't afford. It's like a farmer who plants crops in the spring and then loses everything to a hailstorm. They don't give up, they start over again the next year. I can't imagine giving up after just one setback. Sometimes, there might be a couple of tough years in a row where everything goes wrong, but it doesn't happen too often. You just have to keep trying, and if you handle it well and keep a positive attitude, you'll come out stronger than before. It all comes down to how you look at things and your beliefs. When I first started working to improve my life and build my wealth, my mentor told me, it's all about your attitude. If you're working extra hours just to pay some bills, that's one thing. But if you're working extra hours to build your fortune, that's a whole different story. It changes how you feel about getting out of bed in the morning. Working to pay bills is one thing, but working to build your future is a whole different mindset and philosophy. If you have the right attitude, no matter what's happened, you can adjust your mindset and philosophy and start over. Some people make great fortunes after they turn 50 or 60. The reason is that after going through all their ups and downs over the years, they have a lot of experience to draw from when new ideas or goals come up. That's why these fortunes can grow so much, even later in life. When you're 20, you don't have as much experience to draw from. But that doesn't mean you can't do well and climb the ladder fairly quickly. When you reach 30, you have a bit more life experience to draw from. If something goes wrong at that age, you might have to start over again. But by the time you're 50 or 60, you've accumulated a good amount of experience, which can really make a difference. Now, how things turn out can go either way. You might feel discouraged by it all, or you might feel inspired. And that's part of the mystery. The amazing thing is, you can turn things around and make another fortune. The mystery is, not everyone will do that. Some people see challenges as a reason to keep going and succeed, while others see them as a reason to give up. It's interesting to note that even when faced with the same circumstances, people can react very differently. For example, there were two boys, twins, whose father was a scoundrel and a drunk. Later on, they checked up on the two boys. One of them had become a bad person and struggled with alcohol, and when they asked him why his life turned out that way, he blamed it on his father, saying, "Well, what else would you expect? My father was a bad person." The other boy had become successful, and when they asked him how he managed that, he said, "I didn't want to be like my father." So, even though they had the same father, one used it as an excuse for his problems while the other used it as a motivation to change. A big part of our life is shaped by our attitude and the people around us. It's important to ask ourselves, who am I spending time with, and how are they influencing me? Are their actions and attitudes okay with me? These are 3 important questions to consider. What are they exposing me to? Where are they taking me? And what activities are they involving me in? How are the people I'm around affecting my thoughts and behaviors? It's a good idea to analyze this in a mature way. Who am I spending time with, and how are they affecting me? If it's good, that's great. If it's not good, change it. The people you hang out with can really impact your future. It's important to be selective about who you spend time with. Some people are okay to be around for a short time, but not for long stretches. Others you might only want to spend a few minutes with. And sometimes you might need to distance yourself from certain people altogether. It's helpful when someone offers support during tough times, whether it's lending a book or giving advice, and they say, "I'm here for you whenever you need me." You might not always need someone right by your side, but knowing they're there if things get tough can be really valuable. If you have good friends, they'll be there for you. I had a friend named David who passed away a few years ago. I used to say that if I ever got stuck in a foreign jail for no reason and I was allowed one call, I'd call him. He would come and help me without asking any questions. That's what a real friend is. Hopefully, when you're going through tough times or if everything seems to be falling apart, you have someone like that in your life. Most of us do have someone. It's important to make friends who will stick by you, even when things aren't going well. Some of them will say, "I've been waiting for you. I knew the way things were going, it wouldn't be long before everything fell apart. Come in, let's talk about it." So, make good friends who will support you no matter what happens. When things go wrong, you'll have someone to turn to for advice. I've had friends like that in my life, and they've helped me through tough times, saving my life, my career, and everything else. It's important to have someone you can walk along the beach with, someone who cares about you and is a good friend, so you can talk and try to figure things out. Sometimes, when a business venture fails, it feels like you've been in a crash. Your mind needs time to clear, so if you're feeling lost, it's helpful to have someone who can guide you and say, "Let's sit down and take a break until you feel better." You can't put a price on how valuable that is.